You could hear the smirks from across the chamber. Kash Patel thought he'd cornered her with a fake report. Then Jasmine stood up, and the truth began playing on every screen. You could hear the smirks from across the chamber. As Jasmine Crockett sat calmly behind the polished oak desk, Kash Patel leaned forward at the witness table. Eyes glinting, voice sharpened with years of calculated aggression. "Let the record show," he began, holding up a red-marked folder, "that Congresswoman Crockett failed to disclose key communications with outside legal groups during her committee assignment. I have here a full report, verified by sources I trust." Gasps rippled quietly across the committee chamber. Patel scanned the room like a man savoring the silence before the blow. Inside the committee gallery, aides leaned in. Journalists whispered into their microphones. The cameras were rolling, live on C-SPAN. Patel's voice was measured, crisp. "And Jasmine?" She said nothing. "She has violated the transparency agreement under Resolution 32B, Patel continued. "And while I respect the office she holds, I can't sit here and pretend that silence equals innocence." He placed the folder dramatically on the table in front of him, as if he'd just summoned a guillotine. The chairman cleared his throat, eyebrows raised. "Congresswoman Crockett, would you like to respond?" Jasmine leaned forward slightly, her hands folded. Her expression hadn't changed once. "No," she said simply. "Not yet." The room froze in confusion. Patel smirked. He took it as weakness. "I understand," he said with faux politeness. "It's hard to speak when the facts are already speaking for you." He turned to the chairman. "I move that this committee formally question Congresswoman Crockett's eligibility to continue on the Intelligence Oversight Sub-Panel, pending an internal ethics review." Several Republicans in the room nodded. Patel knew what he was doing. Cut her credibility, and her influence crumbles. But Jasmine just stared at the screen behind Patel's shoulder, the one connected to the courtroom's public display system. And then, slowly, she reached into her briefcase, a silver USB drive. It barely made a sound as she laid it gently on the desk. But every eye locked onto it. Patel's expression twitched. "I was going to wait," Jasmine finally said, her voice low and clear. "But since Mr. Patel brought documents, perhaps it's only fair I share mine too." The chairman blinked. "Congresswoman?" She stood up. "I'd like to enter Digital Exhibit 72 into the record," she said. "A full time-stamped video record of the report Mr. Patel just referenced, unedited, directly from the original source." She turned toward the IT clerk. "Please play file titled Report Spoof Detection, Full Footage.mp4. The clerk inserted the drive. On screen, a security camera recording, dated 2 weeks ago, clearly showed Kash Patel receiving a printed document from an uncredentialed lobbyist. Then, a split screen. The original report from the intelligence office, compared line by line to Patel's forged version. The room went dead silent. Patel's jaw clenched. The smirk was gone. Jasmine crossed her arms and finally looked him in the eyes. "I don't talk over people," she said. "I let them finish. Because the moment they stop lying, the truth has a clearer voice." The screen kept rolling, and everything was about to unravel. Kash Patel's lips moved, but no sound came out. On the giant screen behind him, the side-by-side comparison left no room for ambiguity. One column was the official report, watermarked and time-stamped by the Office of Congressional Oversight. The other, his version, had been manipulated. A paragraph had been deleted, 3 sections rewritten, and one false claim added in red ink. Subject engaged in unregistered communication, with foreign-backed legal groups. That line didn't exist in the real report. Jasmine stood motionless as the footage continued. In the bottom corner of the screen, the source metadata flashed. Captured at 4:19 p.m., Rayburn House cafeteria. The camera angle was clear. Patel accepting a document from a man in a gray suit, known DC fixer Jonathan Merrill, who hadn't appeared on a visitor log in 6 years. Patel finally spoke. His voice was dry now, thinner. "This is misleading. The video is out of context. You can't prove the document I received is the same one I submitted." Jasmine raised an eyebrow. "We thought you might say that." She turned to the clerk. "Please zoom in on the file timestamp Mr. Merrill hands over. Bottom right corner." The image tightened. The PDF's name blinked onto the screen. Crockett Violation Report Draft V2.pdf. The silence was nuclear. A rustle of papers sounded from Patel's legal team. The chairman shifted in his seat. One of the aides behind him looked as if she might be sick. Patel pressed his palms to the table. "Objection," he said, even though this wasn't a courtroom. "This is political theater." The chairman leaned into the mic. "Mr. Patel, this hearing will be conducted with full decorum and factual record. If the evidence being submitted is fabricated, you will have every opportunity to refute it. But what I see on that screen, unless disproven, suggests serious misconduct." Jasmine remained quiet. She didn't need to yell. Her evidence spoke louder than rage. That's when the real panic started. Not from Patel, but from the gallery. Phones buzzed. Reporters in the back row began typing so fast their keyboards clacked like rain. A CNN producer whispered into her mic, "Cut live to panel. We need legal analysis. Now." MSNBC had already plastered, "Breaking, Patel caught submitting forged evidence," across the bottom of the screen. One clip from the video, showing Patel accepting the document while glancing around nervously, had already gone viral on X. The meme was instant. "When you forge it, but she has footage." Meanwhile, Jasmine remained standing, arms still crossed. "Mr. Patel," she said, "you walked in here with a folder full of lies. I walked in with a receipt, a chain of custody log, and a forensic watermark trail. You've built your entire career around knowing more than your opponents. But you forgot something." She stepped forward. "I used to be a defense attorney. You don't scare me. And I never show my cards until I've seen your hand." The chairman nodded grimly. "At this time, this committee will enter a temporary recess, while the clerk verifies the metadata and chain of custody. Any additional exhibits may be submitted during the break." Gavel. One hard strike. The chamber emptied fast. Patel stood slowly, avoiding Jasmine's eyes. She remained seated this time, and just before the cameras cut to commercial, she leaned toward her mic with a smile. "Oh, and Chairman, when we return, I'll be entering Exhibit 73. It's audio." Click. Fade to black. The recess was supposed to last 15 minutes. It went on for 47. By the time the committee was called back to order, the temperature in the chamber had shifted. This wasn't just an ethics hearing anymore. It felt like the prelude to a criminal investigation. C-SPAN viewership had tripled. Jasmine Crockett walked back in calmly, silver USB still in hand, now joined by 2 new folders, sealed and marked DOJ Inquiry Prep. She didn't speak to the press. She didn't need to. Her face said everything. Controlled, quiet, certain. Kash Patel returned late, his suit jacket gone, collar unbuttoned, hair slightly disheveled. His counsel whispered rapidly in his ear. He didn't look at the cameras. Not once. Chairman Lasker banged the gavel twice. This hearing will reconvene. Before we proceed, the clerk has confirmed that Exhibit 72 is authentic. Unaltered footage, full metadata trace, and verified timestamp. He paused. Congresswoman Crockett, you indicated you have additional material to submit? Jasmine stood, voice steady. Yes, Mr. Chairman. Exhibit 73, audio recording. Timestamped 2 days before Mr. Patel submitted the forged report. Please describe the source. The recording was provided to the Office of Congressional Security by an internal whistleblower. It captures a private meeting between Mr. Patel and Mr. Jonathan Merrill, the same individual from the cafeteria footage. Patel sat back in his chair, face like stone. Jasmine continued. In this recording, Mr. Patel outlines a plan to frame me as a national security risk by creating a fake report that he intended to present before this committee. Gasps. The chairman glanced to legal counsel. A nod. Permission granted. Play the audio. The room fell silent. Then, static. A door opening, chairs shifting, 2 men talking. Patel's voice came through first, unmistakable. She's new. Loud, and too clean. That's dangerous. If we're going to neutralize her, it has to look procedural. Merrill replied, we still have the old channels. The 32B draft. You want me to bury it in subcommittee review? No, Patel said. I want to hold it until the hearing. Catch her off guard. Make it look like she's hiding something. By the time she denies it, the networks will already be calling her a liability. Jasmine stood, watching Patel. He didn't move. The clip continued, joking, laughter. Then one final quote that echoed through the chamber like a dagger. She plays defense. Let's see what she does when I go on the offensive. And then silence. Patel's attorney stood abruptly. Mr. Chairman, we request an immediate executive session. These recordings, if real, warrant separate legal review and potential criminal counsel. Lasker didn't even blink. Denied. This hearing is public, and these actions, if verified, constitute willful submission of false evidence, conspiracy to obstruct committee process, and possibly more. Patel opened his mouth, closed it. Reporters were already sprinting out of the room. Twitter exploded. Wash cotton tape, Mashkar Patel plot, Crockett wins with receipts. Jasmine slowly returned to her seat. But before sitting, she addressed the room. This isn't about me, she said. It's about how far some will go to discredit women who don't flinch, especially women of color who do their homework. She paused, then added, You tried to bury me with paper, Mr. Patel. But I read every page, and I brought my own. The camera zoomed in on her face. Calm, resolute. Behind her, the House oversight seal loomed large on the wall. The truth had a microphone now, and it wasn't done speaking. The moment Jasmine sat down, the hearing room became something else entirely. No longer a committee room, no longer a chamber for testimony. It was a battlefield, and Jasmine Crockett had claimed the high ground. Chairman Lasker, visibly rattled but composed, leaned into the mic. This committee will now recognize the gravity of the evidence presented. The chair is calling for a formal ethics investigation into Mr. Patel's conduct. A gavel strike. Audible gasps. One staffer dropped her pen. Kash Patel didn't flinch, but the beads of sweat just under his eyes betrayed him. His lawyer leaned in, whispering frantically. Patel gave no response. Instead, he stared forward. The camera is now panning to him, not as the confident prosecutor from earlier, but as a cornered man being watched by millions. and it was about to get worse. Jasmine rose again. "Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'd like to submit one final item." Chairman Lasker hesitated, then nodded. "You may proceed." She held up a sealed envelope, embossed with a blue congressional seal. "This is a certified transcript," she said, "of internal communications between Mr. Patel, Jonathan Merrill, and a third party named in multiple ethics violations in the past 2 years." She paused, scanning the chamber. "Chief of Staff Roland Kessler." A ripple spread through the gallery like a storm moving through dry grass. Cameras jerked toward the front row, where Kessler, until now presumed an observer, sank lower in his seat. Jasmine held her stare. "This transcript reveals that the effort to discredit me wasn't a solo operation. It was coordinated. Documents were edited on Kessler's secure device, according to metadata. His signature appears on the internal draft, and portions of that draft were shared with third-party PACs prior to today's hearing." Lasker interrupted. "Shared with outside political committees?" Jasmine nodded. "Weeks before this testimony." The room imploded. It wasn't just Patel anymore. This was a network, a deliberate operation to fabricate misconduct charges against a sitting Congresswoman in order to sabotage her upcoming national security legislation. Phones rang inside the hearing room. Reporters began to tweet in real time. "Breaking. Jasmine Crockett links Kash Patel's forgery to House Chief of Staff Roland Kessler. Congressional witness leak coordinated with outside political action committee per new transcripts." Patel finally broke his silence. "This is a witch hunt," he snapped. "All of it." But no one was listening anymore. Even the Republican side of the aisle, once stiff and ready for war, now looked away. One congressman packed up his folder and quietly left. The chairman banged his gavel again. "Given the scope of these allegations, I am suspending all further testimony. The committee will vote within the hour to submit this matter to the Department of Justice." He looked up, squarely at Jasmine. "Congresswoman Crockett, you will be invited to deliver a statement before the full House next week." Jasmine gave a small nod. She wasn't celebrating. She was preparing. As the room cleared, a CNN reporter stopped her in the hallway. "Congresswoman, did you expect this to reach DOJ level?" Jasmine paused, eyes calm, tone even. Number I expected it to go further. She turned toward the camera for the first time that day and addressed the American people. "And for anyone watching, especially those trying to intimidate truth with power, let this be your reminder. I don't back down. I bring receipts." The clip hit 2 million views in 2 hours. The Capitol Rotunda was overflowing. Not with tourists or protesters, but with journalists, advisors, and an unusually large number of silent staffers who stood behind pillars, phones in hand, waiting. The speaker had given Jasmine Crockett something rare: 10 minutes of uninterrupted time to address the House. No rebuttals, no interruptions, just her voice. And every major network, from CNN to Fox, was broadcasting it live. Kash Patel had resigned that morning. Roland Kessler was under formal DOJ investigation for evidence tampering, collusion, and violation of the Congressional Integrity Act. The PX involved had their funding frozen. But Jasmine, she hadn't posted a single thing since the hearing ended. No tweets, no interviews, no TikToks. She let the silence stretch. And now, she stood at the podium, flanked by the American flag and the seal of the U.S. House of Representatives, holding a single sheet of paper. No notes, just a name. "Thank you, Mr. Speaker." she began. A breath. I wasn't supposed to be here. At least, that's what they thought. I wasn't raised for politics. I wasn't born into a family of lobbyists or legislators. I'm not part of any old boy network. I got here because people believe that someone like me, a civil rights attorney, a woman, a daughter of working-class parents, could serve her country with integrity. The chamber was silent. Not even papers rustled. And yet, even here, inside these halls, there are those who believe that silencing people like me is easier than debating us, that smearing us is safer than listening. Her eyes met no one, and everyone. Last week, a plan was launched to remove me. Not because I broke a law, not because I lied, but because I wouldn't back down. Because I asked questions that powerful people didn't want answered. She paused. A live caption flashed beneath her. Crockett addresses Congress amid scandal fallout. The weapon wasn't a threat. It wasn't violence. It was paper, fake paper. Lies wrapped in official language. Folders meant to look real. Files meant to confuse. And they almost got away with it. She held up the silver USB. But this little device? This saved my name. Because truth may not be loud, but it's persistent. And once it's out, no amount of power can put it back in the folder. Camera flashes. Speaker's eyes welled, not with tears, but with conviction. I don't stand here today to punish anyone, Jasmine finished. I stand here to remind this chamber and this country that being underestimated is not a weakness. It's a warning. She stepped back. A full standing ovation, not just from her party. Across the aisle, 2 senior Republicans stood first. C-SPAN cut to black. Aftermath. Within days, the DOJ announced formal indictments for Kash Patel and Roland Kessler. The forged documents had been traced to a network of dark money lobbying firms that had influenced several congressional hearings over the past 3 years. Jasmine's exposure led to what the Washington Post called the oversight reckoning. She declined book deals, turned down 5 major talk shows. Instead, she returned to her committee seat the following week, folder in hand, highlighter clipped to the corner, reading line by line. A tweet appeared from her account 10 days later. Still reading, still ready. That post alone got 8.3 million views.